Hi, this is Shadi, and today we will be taking a look at Japanese Army's hand-to-hand combat system, or Toshu Kakuto, and discuss a little bit of history. I'm showing here some Nihon Kempo or Nippon Kempo, which is a big part of the hand-to-hand combat system, just to say that there is a lot of sparring in it, because whenever we talk about hand-to-hand combat or self-defense, we always say the same thing: it's useless, this is just kata, only certain people spar. But this is just to show that first of all, Nippon Kempo is a big part, and sparring is big in hand-to-hand combat for the Japanese, as you see in the thumbnail. But I'm not gonna show a lot of Kempo because that will be a video on its own, Judo versus Kempo. Today I'm gonna talk a little bit about history and also show a demonstration and try to decipher the roots of the attack. So the Japanese Imperial Army around World War II, they were relying a lot on bayonet fighting, like the knife on the rifle, also Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, and Sumo. But later on, after World War II, they started to invest more into Judo, Aikido, and Kempo. So one of the main figures of evolving Toshu Kakuto was actually Kenji Tomiki. I did a video about him, 8th degree black belt in Judo and 8th degree black belt in Aikido, and also developed self-defense kata for Judo after the death of Jigoro Kano. So here the demonstration starts. You're gonna see some Aikido and Jiu-Jitsu and Judo in it. Here you see some rifle fighting. It's a very basic demonstration, but nonetheless it shows the roots of stuff. Here we see some old Jiu-Jitsu technique that we see in old Koryus like Tenshin Shinryu and also Kittoryu, as you are seeing here in the Koshiki no Kata of Judo. Here we see the same principle being applied. Jigoro Kano is doing it. You drop someone like an Ura form. So here it continues. You see someone going for the back hug and a hip throw. Here, let's see it again in slow motion. You take someone and you continue their movement. Here it looks a little bit like the hip toss that Christian Tissier did, where he actually turns his back and then continues to throw or project with their own hips. So here this is very interesting. Two moves actually happen here: the Aiki Otoshi and here the Sumi Otoshi, not to be confused with Mifune's Kukinage. This is Sumi Otoshi of Aikido. Let's see it again. Here we see like the blending drop with a stab, and here we see the Uki Otoshi or Sumi Otoshi of Aikido. Let's see them each individually. So here first we start with Aiki Otoshi. The basic form looks like Judo Sukuinage, but in a more blending form, like a more dynamic form. It looks like this: you blend in, but he stabbed, and you also like drive your hips into them, dropping them, hence the name Aiki Otoshi or blending drop. So the next one is Sumi Otoshi. Here we see, but Tori put his leg in a little bit like a block, but all the work was actually done with the upper body. Here you see it. So we have both Aiki Otoshi and here Sumi Otoshi. So the demonstration continues. Here you see some basic leg grabs with like foot blocks or foot sweeps, the way we always see. Here we see Seo Otoshi, and then here we see like Tai Otoshi, also like Ukigoshi in a sense, but I would say it's between the two. Here it's better to do Seo Otoshi when someone's grabbing you from behind, because it's easy to go down and pull them downwards, not projecting them with the hips like in Seoinage. So here, if someone's grabbing you and really holding you, it's best to do Seo Otoshi like we saw in the self-defense video. Here you see you just pull them down, and if they are wrapped already around you with like a back hug, it's easier to pull them down as they are doing half the job for you. So Seo Otoshi would be the better choice than Seoinage. Seoinage is far better with like strikes, like upper hand strikes, bats, or just like a punch coming downwards. It's best to do Seoinage like in Nage no Kata, which we'll see later on. Here the next one, like he did like a Tai Otoshi, but it was more towards the hips, but you can still consider it Tai Otoshi, projecting with the hands and blocking with your body, or like a body drop, hence the name Tai Otoshi. You block with your leg, and you continue to pull down, very similar to Seo Otoshi. You know, you're pulling down using your hand. They are both hand techniques, or teiwaza. It's not a leg technique. A lot of people think that Tai Otoshi is a leg technique. It is not. So here we see the demonstration continues, you know, more ura variation like in old jiu-jitsu. Here we see this is a very important technique. Multiple attackers, not, you know, you're gonna survive 100%, but this is something to work what is called the tai sabaki, you know, body movement, you know, your legs, how to change directions, keep an eye very alert, etc. Obviously this is a little bit exaggerated being a demonstration, but here you see like osotogari, and here more someone's trying to stab. Here someone takes them from behind. Try to see multiple things like ground and pound. Someone rolls you over. Here, as you see here, he's gonna roll him over, and he immediately goes for a shujigatame. This is the footage is actually cut, but you saw the hips turn, very similar to like what we see here. The basic armbar from guard works every time. So here we see like the work of osotogari, tai sabaki with the legs. You see that principle also applied in aikido demonstrations, where people like make fun of them. You know, he opens his hand and they like fall off on their own, but this is actually to show tai sabaki in case of multiple attackers. You constantly be on the move, don't stay static. Obviously you're not gonna survive, but you you know, increase your risks of, you know, surviving longer, I would say, before, you know, they really ambush you or something. Tai sabaki is a great exercise to constantly be on the alert. Not necessarily that you're gonna do like Steven Seagal or something like in Hollywood movies. So here the demonstration continues. Uke otoshi. I would rather go for ippon sewanage rather than uke otoshi, because he could have gotten stabbed. But here you see like ude gatame. Here this is uke otoshi, or floating drop, the first technique of nage no kata, here being done. When someone is really charging at you, it becomes, you know, far more easier to do, as you saw here, uke charging with the knife. But in case of a knife, as we just saw, it's better to do something else because the knife was so close to the kidneys. So here we see it in nage no kata. First technique ever, a teiwaza, a hand technique. It was, but I would much rather do this, the ippon sewanage. I don't know if like he can turn his wrist and cut or stab, but I doubt that he could stab if he has his forearm close to me. So the best he can do is turn around and try to cut, but with military clothing, I would say it's hard to try to cause an injury, in my opinion. So like for example here, someone's trying to strike, you finish it with ippon sewanage. This is what I was trying to say actually, rather than uke otoshi. It's far better choice in my opinion, and far better and more devastating as a drop. So as you see, there is a lot of how do you say, roots to this demonstration, either old jiu-jitsu, aikido, judo, even a little bit of newaza, being the army. Of course they're not gonna stay all the time, you know, stand on the ground, barely anything. In case they got rolled out, they do like a basic jujigatame. If not, it's total ground and pound. You know, you want to really annihilate any form of threat. And here, while they are standing, or like multiple attackers, they were all standing up. There's no ground fighting or guard pulling or anything like that. You want to make immediate contact and throw to the ground and deal with the next threat. Now obviously this is a demonstration, it will not look 100% real, but they do spar, as I showed that Nippon Kempo is a big part of their curriculum. Like I said, I will cover Nippon Kempo in a video of its own, Judo versus Kempo, the martial art, the history of it, talk a little bit about the founder, go a little bit of details. So I would say that this is a very good form of self-defense, since there is sparring and also a multitude of attacks. You have distal throwing, you have medial throwing, you also have joint locks, also rifle fighting, knife fighting, and also just open hand fighting. So I would say this is something very interesting, and also Japanese army is one of the best, I would say. If you have anything else to add, let me know down below. Also, consider supporting me on Patreon. I have exclusive content for the patrons only, and also don't forget to check out Josh Simon's shop for historical t-shirts and historical articles. This was Shadi, and as always, thank you for listening.